Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, and you are looking at probably the last video of the Anker RZ. I've been taking you guys through most everything that I've done on the machine, largely going through step by step the top, the back, the side panel, underneath the machine. I believe in the last video, which got cut a little short, sorry about that, you would have seen me replacing cleaning out old grease, what remained of the old grease, and putting in new grease. I normally recommend, of course, that you only use one or two blobs of grease, because typically gears will only hold grease within their teeth, and then they squeeze any excess out and it goes flying and slinging around. But of course, in this machine there is a little compartment with a plate, and so I was able to add more grease, and it should be good to go for a very long time. So, of course, the Anker RZ is one of the early ZigZag capable machines. It, of course, it does a straight stitch, but also can do zigzag. And I wanted to show you all today, let's see, the light, of course, works. I also believe I removed this side plate and showed you guys what I was doing there. And I did this because I've never worked on an Anker before, but again, a lot of its features are similar to what you find in other machines, with a few exceptions that I've called out in one of the many videos I've done with this machine. So, I want to talk a little bit more about the test stitching than I normally do. Very often I show you guys, I do test stitching, and we're going to do that, but I wanted to show you kind of one of the really helpful things. If you are overhauling your own machine, you're trying to get it to work. Maybe you've gotten a machine that's been sitting a long time, it was given to you, or maybe you bought it somewhere, and it could have been, you don't know how long it's been sitting. Very often, when you have a sewing machine, the straight stitch will sometimes have issues. This machine's did not, but you'll notice that very often the straight stitch will sort of work itself out as you're overhauling the machine before the zigzag will. The zigzag will sometimes lag behind the straight stitch, because the zigzag mechanism requires a little bit more coaxing to wake up after it's been asleep for a long time. That's not unique to this machine. In fact, almost every zigzag machine I've ever worked on, if it's been sitting a while, it takes a little longer. You can bring zigzag back. Don't despair about that, but it can take a little bit longer, and that's just the nature of these things. If you're using a machine regularly, you really shouldn't have that happen to you. So here's a piece of material I was sewing on when I was starting, and you can see I did some straight stitching, which you don't see here, and it was fine. But notice with my zigzag down here, let's go down here, right below my thumb, you'll notice it's zigzagging, but it's not consistent. Then it goes, it goes straight for a while, hops back to zigzag, and then it goes, straight again before it moves again. That's not uncommon. Okay, so if that happens to you, don't worry. It doesn't mean your machine's broken. It means it's a little stuck because it's been sitting. Maybe it hasn't been oiled enough, or it's got old oil, and it's more puckered here because I had to do tension adjusting. You will see on this particular sample, this is just the bobbin thread, the other color, and you can see again these little gaps. This is all part of getting a sewing machine ready. So again, it's not a problem. In fact, it's probably something you should expect. If you don't, if that doesn't happen to you, then good for you. But it's pretty common, so I don't want you guys to think that's unusual if it happens to you. So here we go. I've got, after making more lubrication, I was lubricating the zigzag feature, finding more places where it was touching. You have to explore. If this is not a Singer that I've been working on for years and years. I've worked on so many of those models. The Anker is a little different, but not that different. If you come across a machine that looks different, don't let that intimidate you either. Once you've overhauled some machines, you'll get the hang of how to deal with a new machine or a new design. So look here, look at that wonderful straight lock stitch there in this sort of turquoise thread. How wonderfully consistent it is. You see the zigzag is now nice and consistent. I think there's one little spot here, but then again I made more adjustments, you'll see. And notice that when I shorten the stitch, I get not quite a satin stitch, but we're getting close to that. And you're seeing a huge change. And then on the other side, this is mostly wrinkling. It looks puckered, but it's actually wrinkled. I like the tension I've got here right now. And you can, of course, see this with the blue thread. Then I took a heavy, this is the heavy cuff of a pair of pretty dense cotton weight fabric on a pair of trousers. And you can see what I did here. Now I want to show you, when you are doing this, when you're test stitching, be sure before you blame the machine that you are aware of pitfalls that the sewer can engage in. And I'll show this to you. I was testing the straight stitch and I wanted this dark fabric so you guys could really see the stitches. It's not always easy, I know. And I was going over these serged seams. And of course the tension on the pressure bar was actually higher, right? This knob was screwed down further. And remember that no matter how powerful a machine is, and this one's very strong, the material has to be able to be fed under the foot, right? If it begins to bind, you're going to have issues, and you can't blame the machine, right? It's designed to do what it's designed to do, and that's where you come in as the sewer, or in this case, where I was supposed to come in. So notice I've got my zigzag. It's really looking nice here, and I came over, but notice I ended up dragging the seam, right, as I came across, because there wasn't enough space under the presser foot. I have since turned to the left this dial and made less pressure here, and that should give this presser foot a little more room to travel, right? So again, this is not the machine's fault. That would have been my fault. And here again, I came over and I was testing. This is two layers of rolled seam, so that's 4 layers of fabric, and then when we get here, we're going to get another 2. That's either, let's see, yeah, that's going to be 6 layers right here at this juncture. And the machine went over it. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that the spacing, or the length of the stitches, changed. Notice it got long and short, long and short. Part of this is because I had not adjusted the presser bar at that point, and the machine was trying to feed. And if the fabric feeding slows, it shortens the stitch. Now, to the machine's credit, look, it still kept its tension, which is amazing because I was not feeding the fabric properly, and I got this. So that's something you want to remember before you think the machine needs more attention. Make sure that it is not in fact user error. And all of us have done this. You could be experienced sewer or not. You can see the blue color on the other side. Let's see, might want to change my tension a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to do another cuff this time after I have loosened the pressure on the presser bar, giving us a little bit more flexibility under the foot. And I have basically the same type of fabric here, same cuff on the trousers. You can see the rolled seams, and again, when I put them together, let's see here, when I put these together, I'm going to have 4, and again, this is a heavy, dense fabric, and then I'm going to have 6 when I get here. So let's test it out and see. I've got the machine set for straight stitch, and let's see if I can get it to feed and let the machine shine for all of its capability without me getting in the way. And again, this is, fairly thick stuff. We're getting to the sort of the limit. All machines have them. This one is, the spacing is pretty good. I'm going to start with my needle down. This is not a jeans needle, by the way. That would probably help things. I could probably sew faster because you don't want to break your needles, but so far the needle has been cooperative. So let's see what it does, and we'll give it a go. Okay, I'm getting better feeding here. Turn it around. make sure I'm staying on that cuff end there because I'm really wanting to test the machine. And I'll come back and we'll do some zigzag, and then I'll show you guys where I was sewing in that really dense area. Many of you don't always have to sew heavy stuff. I know a lot of my videos I'm showing extra heavy sewing, but that's because a number of people look for a vintage machine because some of you have new machines and you have them because they have certain features that you like, and then when you go to sew something heavy and dense, those machines let you down, and that's really unfortunate, and a lot of people get vintage machines for that reason. Others of you may not have any machines and you just want to get a good old metal machine that's not going to fall apart on you the minute you try to sew something with any weight. So let's see. Let's try. I'll move over to zigzag here. Let's pull my needle up. Remember, it doesn't have automatic needle raising. We'll come all the way over and we'll make it on the widest zigzag. So now we're set up for our zigzag stitch, and we'll come back. Make one more go of it here. Well, let's take a look at what all of this effort has gotten us. I'm rather pleased, and again, I'm really sewing something at sort of the top end of density. So the first row that I made, I came along here, and I did not help the machine feed that extra dense space. Notice that she kept her tension beautifully. The machine's happy to sew these things, but the length of the stitch changed because of the speed of the feeding. The machine didn't really fail. I did not feed it properly. Now come around and I made another attempt and I had better results. Notice on the second row by my thumb, let's come down, right? Notice it's much better because I'm paying attention. Remember, when you're sewing, you really want to pay attention as the fabric is feeding. You are sort of the pilot, right? You're the one steering the boat, so to speak. Now, let's look at my first row of zigzag. I had the same issue because I wasn't feeding it properly. Notice the zigzag here, and then notice that you don't see it here, but again, she slowed. The machine was hesitating because I wasn't feeding. We come down. Now, on my second row, I gave more power. And look at that, right? What a much better stitch. So sometimes it's a little confusing when you're looking at this, like, what is going on? You know, is the machine having a problem, or am I, the sewer, having the problem? But I wanted you guys to see this. This is a remarkably strong sewing machine. Some of you may want to sew heavy stuff occasionally, often, or not. But either way, this Anker is remarkable. I never know when I get a machine for the first time what I'm going to think about it, because I wasn't sure when I bought it. You know, I didn't have a lot of background knowledge on that particular brand, but it is built, over-engineered, really heavy, like a lot of German machines from that period. And if you need a zigzag machine, you are looking at a pretty remarkable one at that. So if you are interested in seeing the machine, let me know. We can set up a time for you to visit it and try it out. And if not, if you have an Anker or just interested in the machine, let me know, because this is, to my mind, I believe it's rare, at least in North America. If any of you in Europe have these, let me know what you think. Is it a large brand? It's not in North America, but that doesn't mean it's not a big brand somewhere else. And let us know. Let us here at the channel know, and be happy to get your thoughts and what you think about it. And do you enjoy sewing on your Anker? I thoroughly enjoyed this machine, and I love the simple controls and the fact that its prior owner took great care of it. But I appreciate all of you watching, and stay tuned for the next video, and we will see you soon.